Stopped
It
at
is.
one.
It's going well.
Nice.
All right, so this is the CapmLew podcast. The Facebook feed has fired up, and we are. This will not be a live episode. This will be one of those episodes in next week.
True.
This is episode number 38.
38.
Episode 38, but we just did episode 35 today.
It's as if we're moving through time.
It's what we're doing. We are cheating. We are banking a couple episodes because while I'm traveling, all I'll be able to do is maybe a little bit of solo here or there. Some solo dolo.
Solo dolo, dog.
Very doubtful I will do that. I'll be dealing with some things.
Yeah.
I'll have some irons in the fire. But I am happy that we're here today on episode 38.
Yes.
Planning to air on Thursday, the 9th of February. You know what a stickler I am on pronunciation.
I do.
It's February.
I actually really like that about you.
It's February.
I like getting to know people and then like realizing they have little quirks that kind of make them tick. I actually really enjoy that about people. I really do.
I'm quirky.
Yeah, I like it.
It's true.
I like it.
So here on February 9th, we are going to discuss another bit of a heavy topic, and the topic hinges upon the following scenario. Let's break it on down. All right. I have done a bit of writing on this scenario. It's a little bit tough. So I'm going to pull up a little bit of my written work. Do you remember it?
Yeah, flip it. I just read it. This might be. Flip one more time.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh no, go back the other way twice. No. Other way. I think we're going too far.
If I go back twice,
this way. One more time.
Really?
Where
There's
was the
nothing
page that
there,
you just
though.
had opened?
Here.
Oh, right there.
It's a different book.
Ah,
If I did some better writing.
bro.
I did some better writing.
All right.
And yeah, I got it here. All right. So today's episode is about, I don't know how to call this. I think today's episode is actually going to be about, it's going to be kind of 4 victims of sexual exploitation.
Yep.
I mean, we really do it over here. I'm not very proud of that. I'm ashamed of that we live in this. And this is a mess. But this episode is hinging upon the theme of folks, the situation when a person has been sexually exploited.
Yeah.
Usually as a young person.
Yeah.
But now they're growing up.
Yeah.
Maybe they're 27.
Sure.
Maybe they're 32.
Or 55.
There are numbers and amounts of years, but no number of those can stop us from having to move forward with a difficult topic.
Yeah.
So here's what I've been seeing that I feel like we need to talk about.
Yeah.
A person is a victim of sexual exploitation. This is in skateboarding, but this can be, USA Gymnastics. This can be Penn State basketball.
Yeah.
This can be the Boy Scouts of America. It could be the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
It could be any number of youth groups, and now emerging are harrowing tales of public school and private school students being groomed and being exploited sexually. And these things happen, and a person cobbles together some form of growing up, and then they get into some certain age of maturity where they realize they begin to feel responsibility to respond to what happened. It can be a personal therapeutic approach where they realize that their own healing is contingent upon actively engaging accountabilities, or how are we doing so far, Luke?
No, good. I'm super down. Yeah.
And I had some thoughts about it. Let's see. The banked episode will be about and for people who have fallen victim to sexual exploitation in their youth, who as adults and young adults realize that they have to do something. Usually, by that time, they are pretty wrecked by the trauma. Wrecked. Often, they have a profile that undermines the credibility of their own forthcoming allegations. This is what's really tough. You know, in a present, you've got cultural and legal obstacles to even dealing with this kind of abuse.
Yeah.
Legally, you're in a system under a constitution where everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Which I stand by.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. It ensures that there will be injustice, but it protects against a great injustice, which we must avoid, which is the jailing, the persecution of the innocent.
Yeah.
We are in that culture of society that says it would be better for 100 guilty people to go free than for one innocent to be wrongly punished. My enthusiasm for that is tempered.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And another thing, culturally, and this is also legal, there are a lot of false accusations
Yeah.
in the history of this topic. And so when we deal with something like this, it's really touchy. Because here you have a person who's been sexually exploited in youth skateboarding. We talked about basketball, we talked about gymnastics, right, because you had the Penn State thing, which was not just Jerry Sandusky, but it was all the people around that knew it was going on and were completely complicit in the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then you got the Dr. Larry Nassar in the USA Gymnastics, and you just hope that was the only guy doing that sort of thing. You know, you just hope. Okay, and then you've got, there's just a lot of this going on. And in skateboarding, through the history of the X Games, the X Games was the Wild West.
Yeah. And
a lot of really heartbreaking and bad stuff happened around that stuff. And now the X Games has become USA Skateboarding and has become an Olympic juggernaut.
Yeah.
And all the politics and all of the, there's dirty dealings in that whole history.
Yeah.
Just business-wise, right?
Yeah. There's
enough scandal to go around. And we're not here to capitalize on scandal.
No.
But, what a mess. But it's all a mess. The world is a mess.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to do is we wanted to put out an episode, and we might touch on this many times, where so you wake up one day and you're a 29-year-old person and you realize that the fact that you were sexually exploited is not something that you can just continue to pave over.
Yeah.
And you've actually got to do something.
Right.
And again, that could be part of a therapeutic journey. And you've got these you're already set up to fail in a system. If you're looking for accountability and you're looking for justice, you've got some obstacles. You have an undercurrent of constitutional law.
Yeah.
And you've got an undercurrent of lots and lots of false accusations have come out, and every one of those people that falsely accuses another person actually does a great disservice to people who've actually suffered a crime who need to be believed. And then there's more.
Yeah.
There are even more obstacles, because now if this doesn't fit you, that is amazing. I think it should be held in even higher amazement, because it's rare that these that these next, I'm counting 5 things, aren't part of your profile.
Right.
But a profile has emerged of a victim of sexual exploitation, and their life journey from that experience often includes promiscuity, addiction, mental health issues that could include erratic behavior.
Yep.
Between addiction and mental health issues, there can be criminality, criminal record, and then there's the toll it takes on your physical health as well. So promiscuity, addiction, mental health issues, and physical health issues. So here you are, and you're getting up there and you realize you got to deal with this stuff. And one component of dealing with it is probably going to be speaking out about it. It's at this point in the podcast we would like to clarify that neither Luke nor I, CapmLew, are medical doctors.
Or lawyers.
And we wouldn't be cast to play doctors or lawyers on TV. None of this is legal advice. None of this is medical advice. None of this is mental health advice in terms of authority. You've got to get help from the people who specialize in the area of help you need help in. But our intention is that through sharing these opinions with you, that we might maybe encourage you and maybe be part of helping you to engage these things.
Yeah.
So, but we've seen this.
Yeah.
We've seen people who have to come to terms with having to do something.
Right.
Recognizing. So, we think it's probably a good idea for you to file a police report.
Yeah. And I'd love to say to keep your hopes high about that, but that's what I did, and it's these things, especially after certain periods of time, are extremely hard to prosecute under our current system. And I like that our system is that way, but you also have to recognize that there is, injustice inherent to that fact. The justice system can't just believe everything that everybody says all the time.
Yeah. This podcast is not going to be the one that assures you that you're going to see justice done. And while it would be wrong to give up on legal justice, systemic justice,
right.
Okay, it would be wrong to neglect that component.
Right.
That component is part of a robust response to the situation a person finds themselves in when they wake up at 27 years old and realize they've got to do some things about this.
Yep.
So a police report should be filed.
Yeah. That's
our opinion.
100%, yeah.
It is 100% our opinion.
Yeah. For what it's worth.
So that's for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Another thing, you definitely should be talking to a counselor.
Yeah.
Probably can't afford one because your life is probably a mess.
Yeah.
No, you should. You should reach out to friends and family, and you should ask them to help you pay for a counselor.
Yeah.
You really should. I mean, I have to say, people are putting up GoFundMes, and one of them was, I got sexually exploited and I need counseling. Will you please help me pay for it? That would be one.
Yeah.
That would really be compelling.
Yes.
I mean, if you fit the profile, you find yourself having, a lot of victims of sexual exploitation are women who were girls when it happened, young girls. And I hate to dwell on this, but we're going to do this for an hour.
Yeah.
A lot of them followed up on being abused like that. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and they kick off. Lots of times this profile commonly can include, again, not a doctor.
Right.
I say commonly, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
Commonly become very promiscuous. They often will be strippers. Often will have addictions to substances. Everything nowadays is pills, heroin, fentanyl. And often we'll go from abusive relationship to abusive relationship. Some become adult industry workers. You know, if your life story is like, well, you know, I learned this from so-and-so when I was 14 years old, you're right in the crosshairs of what this is. We might have listeners who listen to this and say, wow, I might have been one of those people. Another problem with sexual exploitation is that a lot of these situations are consensual in nature.
Yeah.
A lot of the problem of child sexual exploitation is that children are compliant by nature.
Yeah.
They're learning from grown-ups, and that's why it's not right to sexually access children.
Yeah.
They are not fully capable of making decisions like that, and it is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's very important for you as an adult, if you look back on that as a consensual relationship, to consider our opinion that no, it wasn't. It's a very tough pill.
Yeah.
That's a big pill.
Yeah, that's a huge aspect of recovery in these situations, is realizing that the person that you thought that was on your side and that you trusted was actually a betrayer and desperately evil in their actions towards you. And that usually a large portion of that dynamic is a person acting as if there's a consensuality to what's happening as a tactic for you to remain compliant, and in my opinion, a tactic to assuage their own conscience as they're performing these acts.
When a victim is groomed, victims of child sexual exploitation are often groomed into being initiators of the contact.
Yes.
I said that like I know it, but I'm saying it because I feel that is the case probably often enough that by saying this, I might reach a person who has filed this under something I did, you know, something that they did when in fact they were groomed into a behavior that was, for which they are fundamentally not responsible, and the other person is fundamentally responsible.
Yeah.
This is hard stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to speak to this issue. I want to speak to something I saw break out some years ago. There was a very large allegation that came out. It was very public, but I'm going to speak about it in a cloaked fashion. Folks who are in skateboarding will probably be able to figure out what this is speaking of, and I don't want you on the Facebook Live to drop it in the comments. We have no moderator. We can't control those. But this allegation came out about a judge at a major competition who was accessing young kids who were, you know, specifically one young kid. And that young kid spun off into a life of dissipation.
Yeah.
And, you know, into the mid-late 20s, that young kid, now grown up, realized that they had to speak out. And what I liked about the way they spoke out was that they made it public in the form of allegations.
Yeah.
Allegations that would have resulted in a defamation or slander lawsuit if they were false.
Yes.
Now, it's been some years, and that lawsuit has not been forthcoming. Now, that doesn't speak to the legal guilt or innocence of the accused party. Lord knows they had enough money to do the lawsuit in terms of the business that they represented and the giant financial interests. This was a person slated in place to be involved in the Olympics as a coaching or judging influence.
Right.
And they were removed. And they have largely disappeared from mainstream skateboarding media.
Yeah.
When I saw that from where I was sitting, it appeared that the damage at the soul and mind level was pretty extensive. And so in these allegations, the victim, the alleged victim, the alleged victim of these acts behaved, wrote, spoke in video, in writing, in social media posting. They spoke in a very impassioned but very erratic way.
Yeah.
And they spoke from a history of substance abuse, and I believe that the young woman had been involved in the adult industries of some sort or another.
Sure.
I think that was adult, dancing in gentleman clubs, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and also the opinion that this person is just crazy,
Yeah.
was not rare to find. And I want to speak to that too.
Yeah.
Because using the argument that this person is crazy, that's what really bugged me. My immediate response to that back then was, of course she is.
Yeah.
Of course she's crazy.
Right.
Wouldn't you be driven crazy if half of what she's describing were true?
Yeah.
And she came out like a lioness trying to protect her cubs. She did this, she said, so that she could make it safer for women in skateboarding. And are you familiar with this case?
I am.
Were you ground zero?
We chatted about her stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I think she did it.
Yeah. At what price, dude?
Well,
I'm not saying it wasn't worth it. I'm just saying, like, we all should take a deep, long look at the way that the cards are stacked against people like that. And I mean, it really is uphill in the snow, barefoot, both ways, being chased by wolves. And it turns out the wolves are all your close family and friends and everybody who you thought had your back. And also an entire, like, ephemeral community wherein half of them think that you're just crazy, which is actually pretty much totally true. That doesn't delegitimize your claims, but everybody acts like it does. I mean, it's just such a total shit show. Like, how is a person even supposed to get out of bed in the morning? It is.
Well, they wrestle with self-harm, and the theoretical person, the hypothetical person wrestles with self-harm, and they wrestle with suicidality.
Yeah.
They wrestle with depression.
Yeah.
They wrestle with manic swings. All of it strikes to, strikes at their visible credibility.
Yeah.
But for the person who looks a little deeper, it actually speaks to their credibility. Yeah. And I know that the DA, the district attorney, turned down the case as non-prosecutable, even though it was corroborated by convincing sources and there was plenty of evidence. But these district attorneys, they're not your friend. Their job is to prosecute crime, but they are constrained by a system of politics. They are constrained by corruption.
Right.
They are constrained by limitations that are not illegitimate, like the Constitution.
Right.
Although I'm not saying that in this case. It's very disappointing that the DA wouldn't press a case on such a thing. I wished for it. I thought it would have been a cleansing moment for skateboarding.
Yeah.
Because simultaneous to the exposure of that case, I think it was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneous to that exposure, that's 5 years ago.
I know, it's insane.
Here in Cincinnati, I had written an article that was not about Cincinnati. It actually combined and amalgamated scenarios. And it was a first draft. It was garbage pretty much. Not good writing, but it was useful. And it went pretty far. And laid out the old, oh, he's just a horn dog thing that goes on.
Right.
And really bad, very coercive, very damaging behavior in our skateboarding communities that, like, giving it a pass is complicity. And not talking about it might keep the rule of your local skate shop politics, but it does not keep the rule of life.
Yeah.
So we wanted this episode to go out to those folks and serve as, at least there are a couple of guys in the upper sanctum here who saw this happen and are seeing it happen.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of reach out to people who are wrecked. And, you know, this isn't all young women.
No.
It's not. In fact, I think an untouched portion of this, you know, is, you know, people aren't talking about what happens to young men, because a lot of things that happen to young men, because these acts are often homosexual in nature, in skateboarding, there is still a stigma for men who get punked out and who get turned out like this. And we don't know what it's worth.
Yeah.
We care. We see this sort of thing go on and we care.
Right.
We don't know what to do except this right now. We're not cops.
No.
We're not lawyers. And all we have are two turntables and a microphone.
Yeah.
And so we thought this episode would go out to those folks and say, hey, we're really sorry that this happened. You should definitely file a report.
Yeah.
It probably oftentimes won't go anywhere, but the act of filing it can be part. You should definitely, in our opinion, get help.
Yep.
You should also be bold to discover who's got your back.
Yes.
And let your support system reflect that, which means you're probably going to have a lot fewer friends, but a lot better.
Yeah.
Luke, I know there's more, but
no,
what do you think,
I'm
bro?
really struck this idea that even as a person standing in that breach who is so unstable and whose life is actively falling apart before they begin to talk, and then as they talk, that falling apart is intensified and accelerates.
Mm-hmm.
That person at the same time is also making it harder for this stuff to happen. But I really think it's so important that we, as a society, count the cost. Like, these people are destroyed. I mean, it's like flying into the sun. Like, I did some of this in my own life, and it took me literally years of time, and I had far better support systems than 98% of the people out there with the history that I have. And I was barely able to pull off like any of the tremendously difficult work that it takes to try to make this harder for anybody ever. I mean, from the beginning, you know, starting from when I first reported to the state police about my history, still, I think it was this year, I reached out to a pastor in the location where this happened and pleaded with him that he would...
Because he was in a place where he could know what was going on.
Yeah, and was in a place of authority in some ways, and asked him, can you please make this harder for this person to behave in this way? I know that my story is not necessarily corroborated, though it is by other people, but I gave him the case number. I said, I'm happy to speak with you. You know, this can be corroborated by police report. Can you please just do whatever you can to make it more difficult for this person to behave that way? I mean, it was probably 4 years of time. And it was a simple email. It took me 15 minutes to write, but the difficulty,
you know,
it's extreme.
You know what was tough about that? Can I share what he wrote back
go
to?
ahead. Yeah.
That pastor that Luke reached out to and said, hey, can you help to bulletproof your community against this person's activity?
Yeah.
Can you do something to help your people? Because this guy is active in your church. This guy is active. And while the law isn't touching him, could you do what you can do?
Yeah.
That pastor's response was, as I remember it,
Yeah.
I was abused as a kid too.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can do. I wish you well. Did I get it?
It's close. He said, yeah, I'm so sorry that this happened. You should know that it's not your fault, which is like basic 101. Have eclipsed that so far.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm no longer the pastor there.
Okay.
And this happened to me as well, and I'm sorry that happened. But he never really addressed.
Yeah.
So what happened is I wrote him the first email telling him the story and asking him if he could do something. He came back and said, I'm sorry that this happened to me as well. I'm actually no longer the pastor there. And then I wrote him again and I said, thanks for the support, but what I'm asking you is, can you make this more difficult for this person at all? Can you do anything at all? And I don't think he ever emailed back.
Right, he never emailed back. Can you ring up the present pastor there? There should be some sort of a rapport.
Yeah.
There should be some sort. I want to do something to simplify this conversation. I want to say we've covered two things. We covered legal. We covered therapeutic.
Yep.
The third one we're going to cover is social. All right. So legally, you need to report it. Therapeutically, you need to get help.
Yep.
And you need to, at least you need to start doing a timeline. What happened? When did it happen?
Yeah.
You need to get in touch with the objective behaviors and events of what happened to you. This is very important, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the third thing, so legal and therapeutic, but then the third thing is socially. Here comes where a person wants to come out roaring like a lion and say, I want to make it harder for this to happen. Now, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. If you can't keep a houseplant alive, don't get a dog. Right?
Yeah.
If you can't take care of a dog, well, I mean, children sort of fill in the blanks themselves. You usually don't let your child die, but if boy, oh boy, it happens, and you should really, you should realize that there might be a lot to bite off here. So maybe we talk about like approaching this carefully.
Yeah.
Not being reluctant to speak out socially, but being prepared to speak out socially in the interest of accomplishing your goal, which ought to be to make this harder to happen.
Yeah.
For other people's sake. The law, Johnny Law may not have any love for you.
Right.
And therapy may take time.
Yeah.
You may find yourself on a lifetime journey of being wounded and learning how to heal from being wounded.
Right.
That is, heal yourself and heal others. Because you will. Things get turned around and you become very helpful to other people. But first you have to do some work. And then you may want to speak out and do some advocacy. And what I want for you is for you to prepare.
Yeah.
I want you to prepare. I want you to know that you don't have to do something right exactly now. If you do have to do something right exactly now, you need to recognize that you have a mission here. And telling your story well is like impossible.
Yeah.
You're gonna make mistakes, so don't give up. You want to try to tell your story ethically. You don't want to break the rules as you hope for people to come back to following the rules.
Right.
This is why it's not like revenge is off the table. You'll have to wait for ultimate justice. I believe in ultimate justice, and I've put my hope in, the thing about this God in the Bible that I read about is that one of the promises no one makes much of is that he promises that he will ultimately take vengeance on, vengeance.
Yeah.
And now that's my comfort. If it's your comfort as well, great.
Yeah.
Legit. But without a lot of expectation from the legal system, which would be great if it worked wonderfully, and without a lot of, it's going to be a hard slog therapeutically.
Yeah.
If you can even afford help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's often the case that a person will go off, what do they call it, half-cocked?
Yeah.
Where you didn't finish pulling back the hammer on your musket, and it won't hit hard enough to make the spark ignite the powder and fire the round.
Yeah.
You got to pull it all the way back. And in this, I think you're going to wind up making some really hard, like, social media posts, and you should. And you're gonna probably not do them perfectly well, and that's fine.
Yeah, as I engaged this in my own life, there came a narrative out of the community that I was speaking to, and there was, the feedback was paraphrased like, we're really angry at you because you didn't do this right, and you hurt people when you came out and talked about this. And it took me a long time. I'm a sensitive guy. I care about people. The last thing I want to do is hurt them. It took me a lot of thinking and long time to realize, man, when you're in a burning building and you pull somebody out, or even better, when you're in the stories of the firefighters when they come up to a car crash and the dash is folded over somebody's legs, they're pinned underneath it, and they literally break the guy's femurs, both of them, to pull them out of the car. Yeah. That's what this is like sometimes. And it is very, very likely that people who are beginning this journey are going to have a lot of people, especially people that they thought that they trusted, who are going to come out with like, you're not doing this well, and you're really hurting a lot of people right now, and you're being pretty selfish because, when we talked about this in the past, you said that this was totally cool and that you guys were, boyfriend and girlfriend, and what you're doing is really bad, and you should stop. Yeah.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
You need to hear this. When people come at you and tell you that you're doing it wrong, this is a lot to ask of you, but I want you to remember that old CapmLew said, of course you are.
What do you expect?
None of this was supposed to ever exist.
Yeah.
This was not supposed to happen.
Right.
Nobody does this well.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're saying that I'm not telling you not to go off half-cocked. I'm telling you that there's almost no doing this well.
Yeah.
Who gets practice?
I know.
Who, goodness gracious, it's going to be a number of years before you stabilize out and get to a place where you can effectively advocate for other people.
Yeah.
So in that time, you're going to have to ineffectively advocate for your own recovery.
Yeah.
So get on it.
Yeah.
Daggone it. Get on it.
Yeah.
And you know what? You may wind up saying some things that you regret.
Yeah.
You may wind up like using foul language or just don't lie.
Yeah.
Stick to the facts and don't lie, but don't hold back. And when you make an allegation like this, I want to tell you there's another thing that can happen. Is if you go off from the facts, that person can sue you for defamation. And that can really jam you up.
Yeah.
So do your best to have your facts locked down. Take a week and use a spiral notebook and write down what happened the best you can remember.
Right.
Pull together what they call nowadays receipts.
Yep.
Pull together your receipts and go to people who were around and get corroboration. I even think if you live in a single-party consent state, you should record them without them knowing. Just as a resource for your own self.
Yeah.
If it's a two-party consent state, let them know that you would like to record what's going on, when you're talking to them.
Right.
And I'm not saying to go to the press until I am, but we've seen what a mess it is to get involved in this kind of what they call drama.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
just support the drama.
Well, make sure that it turns out this is objectively dramatic.
It is.
Yeah, it is dramatic. And quickly identify those people who are unsympathetic. Quickly identify them as toxic people.
That you don't want to spend time with or listen to.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if that means that you only have one person to skate with and it's yourself, then skate with them.
Yeah.
Because you got to do you now.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's going to hear this, but I hope that people who've come through and have kept from offing themselves after these kind of experiences and who haven't overdosed to death,
Yeah.
who hear this can sit down with that dang spiral notebook and can timeline out what happened, can gather their receipts, and then can speak out. And I hope that this serves to cause us to think, those of us who may hear these things.
Yeah.
And to guard ourselves against anything that might make it easier for this to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely.
We don't want to perpetuate.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to run interference for, especially people who are in positions of authority or influence are particularly prone to succumb to the temptation to exploit other people.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm thinking about as we're talking about this is it is tremendously important that before you try to help anybody else out of this burning building, just maybe spend some time getting your legs underneath you a little bit. Do not feel pressure to do it all at once, and you got to focus on you. When you're in that kind of situation, you have to get your house at least organized in some way. For some people, that means a spiral brown notebook and just writing timelining. For others, it means 2 years in therapy every single week before you can even begin the process of writing a Facebook post or getting on Tik-Tok or reaching out to a reporter or going to the cops. I think that's really important. The other thing that I'd like to say is that if you are in your life and you recognize that this has not happened to you, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful about that.
Yeah, you're becoming a rare breed.
You're becoming a rare breed. It's 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. That's the last time I checked for women and men. And but if you have a friend or a sister or a brother or a close skate buddy, and you know that this has happened to them, and I'm going to be a little bit intense here, but it's on purpose. If you want to have any integrity in that relationship, you ought to be getting under and lifting as hard as you possibly can. That might mean just listening. That might mean asking, what do you need? How can I help you? Do you?
And darned if they know.
And darned if they know. So just get under and lift in any way you can. One thing that really was hurtful for me when I was in this process of recovery was that I had people who were really close to me and they knew about what had happened, and every time I would see them, they would ask kind of a series of questions, and they were kind of like, "Well, have you gone to the cops yet? Have you figured this out yet? Have you done your work yet?" And I remember feeling really hurt by that because I wanted to ask them, "Have you gone to the cops? Have you had my back at all? Are you gonna tell me that you love me and you care about me, but you don't even have the guts to go talk to a law enforcement officer on my behalf, or even ask if if they could drive me down?" Lew was the one who drove me down to speak to the police. So don't be that guy, man. Don't be that guy, bro. Get under and lift.
There's something under the surface on that that I want to speak to. If you are that person who has not had this happen to you, and it becomes evident, or you even suspect that this has happened, you need to know, and this is opinion, you need to know Lew's opinion. This is not a one and done thing.
No.
Don't approach your friends who have been victim of this with an attitude of like, get over it, man.
Are you done yet?
Are you done yet?
Nope.
And don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
Let them
Jeez, bro.
let them set the pace, but also like, here's the thing. What if you did an old Google search on what do I do for someone that this happened to? And what if you actually went to a counselor yourself?
Yeah.
And said, what do I do for someone that this happens to? What if you explored, like, how do you be a friend to someone that this has happened to? And did a little bit more than, oh man, they're a bummer. They just won't get over it, type of thing. Because this is not the type of stuff that someone should be required to just get over with and be better now.
Yeah.
And if this jams up your skate scene, And your skate scene is lame.
Yeah. Jeepers.
And
creepers, dude.
if you've got industry people in your skate scene that shut this sort of conversation down, do not support them, because they do not support you. If this happened to you, they would be telling everyone to shut up. It's wrong to do that. It's morally wrong to be like that. I've seen that in several communities. This stuff is this is heavy.
Yeah.
There's a death toll on this.
100%.
There's a death toll on this. And we spent 4 episodes discussing, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Lucifer Baphomet, like rock on and die on a couch, and make a wizard staff out of beer cans, we will return to this topic probably for the duration.
Yeah.
With some regularity.
Yeah.
Because sexual exploitation of young skateboarders, young people, is happening a lot. And it is essential that we discuss it.
Yep.
Now, someone's going to jump in there and they're going to say, string them up, kill them, slash their tires. I get it.
Yeah.
But I want to return to my position that I've entrusted my hope to the ultimate justice that is described as vengeance in the words of what I like to call Holy Writ, the Scriptures.
Yeah.
I do. Not everybody holds that hope.
Yeah.
I understand that in this world there are those who are going to take matters into their own hands. And I want to say that watch out. Don't do that.
Yep.
I want to quote the scripture that says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." I used the King James.
I saw that there.
I was going for authority. Yeah. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Yeah.
I will repay.
Yeah.
And you're not on the right side of that ultimate justice if you take it into your own hands. That is a robbery. Now you may be saying, "Well, I'm not a Christian. Save that stuff for church." Well, you can fuck off with that nonsense. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's dumb. You're the one who came here to listen.
My brother in Christ, you're listening to our podcast.
Yeah. You're going to have that.
Yeah, you're going to have that,
because
bro.
that's just where we're at.
Right. But even not as a Christian, like,
do you want to go to prison and have a
dude,
life sentence?
Come on, man. Jeepers creepers.
But that is said with a huge respect too.
Yeah.
Like I know of 3 legal cases where fathers took vengeance on behalf of their daughters and sons, and where I think some of them were exonerated.
Yeah.
By the courts.
Yeah.
And I rejoice at that. I do. I do. I rejoice that the courts did not prosecute those fathers. I do.
Yeah.
And I know that back in the day, maybe one reason, I've always wondered, maybe the rate keeps rising because we're finding out about something that's been going on the whole time.
Yeah.
Maybe the rate keeps rising because population density multiplies the way this happens.
Yep.
It has a multiplicative effect.
Yes.
But maybe the rate is rising because in the old days, maybe justice was a little more frontier style.
Yeah.
And maybe in the old days, justice was a little more swift.
Yeah.
And dirty deeds came dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. But we wanted to spend time on this topic, and we want to continue to revisit it. So not that summary for the end of our conversation, but to recap.
Yeah.
People who've gone through this are often a wreck.
Yep.
And those who would perpetuate this sort of thing, that is the exploitation of underage people, that is children. I'm talking about people who are below the age of consent, which is different in different states.
Yeah, I think,
with different age spreads and things like that.
Yeah, I think that it can be definitely applied more broadly as well.
But I'll tell you this: it is essential that we speak out against this sort of thing, and when we find it, it's essential that we root it out and expose it. There's no world in which an adult official in a giant skateboarding corporate thing ought to be behaving in this way toward the young women, 13, 14,
Yep.
15-year-old young women,
Yep.
under his care. Every kid is under our care when we're doing something professional with skateboarding. And there was a murder that was only covered up for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably the #1 best known murder case in all of human history. And the man who committed this murder, when he was confronted, he said, he was asked, "Where is your brother whom he had murdered?" And he responded, "Am I my brother's keeper?" This was Cain in the book of Genesis.
Basically, yeah, bro.
This was Cain in the book of Genesis, and his first reaction to interrogation was, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And in that lays this lesson that every one of us, we are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We are supposed to take care of one another. And when this stuff rears its ugly head, it destroys, it ruins everything. And that means everything will be ruined.
Yeah.
It's really just, the bottom line is you don't get to experience a full life without the sorrow and the grief of addressing this, because it's happening around you.
100%.
I don't know if there's a soul of man. I don't know if there's a soul of man that will not have to deal with this. Many of our listeners have had, they caught a whiff of it, and they just walked away.
Yeah.
Ooh, not going to deal with that. I can't even deal with that.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
Now, there's another profile involved in this that almost never gets spoken to. What do we have to say to the person who has or is doing it?
Oofta, dude. Oofta.
As I imagine all the ears and minds and hearts that a podcast can reach, 5 years from now, someone might listen to this very podcast who is guilty of this grave transgression.
You're right.
And they think, oh, if people knew what I did, my life would end.
Pretty much, yeah, bro. That's, yep. The only way is through. The only way is through.
You mean the only way out is through? Like when Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you... the problem is that there's almost no incentive in the world for a person who has done these types of things to reveal themselves, but there sure is if you believe in
the ultimate justice.
The ultimate justice. And if that's the case for you, if you have found yourself beginning to believe in ultimate justice, friend, the only way is through, and that means the rest of your life is going to cataclysmically change 100% depending on the situation.
Luke, it causes a thought to enter my mind.
Go ahead.
I'm having trouble finding easy points. It was relatively simple for me to pull those 3 points that legally, therapeutically, and socially a person needs to activate and begin to engage if they've been the victim. And they're for reasons. Each one of those has reasons, especially the social one where you're making it harder for this to happen.
Yep.
But for the person who's committed these crimes, the only reason that I can give you that makes sense on paper
Right.
Why you should expose yourself and why you should subject yourself to the perilous rigors of that exposure is to escape the vengeance of God.
Yeah.
To offer restitution and take responsibility and repent from your sin and be reconciled ultimately to the God who will take vengeance on these things and be rescued from that vengeance. I don't find a compelling those three points that I had, legal, therapeutic, and social.
Yeah.
They had traction in this world, in the visual realm.
Right.
But the fundamental rationale of why a person would expose themselves and would seek justice for their victims, the fundamental first reason is not rooted in this present scene realm. It's rooted in the revelation that God is real, that we are his creations, that he has made a way of mercy through the cross, and that there is reconciliation with God. And it does include taking responsibility for the evil that we've committed. And that's really the root of my response to the abusers out there, is if you the coming judgment for these things is so far greater than being shanked to death in a prison.
Yeah.
I'm shuddering just thinking about the gravity of this topic for them. Be reconciled to your Maker and throw yourself on the mercy that is found with your Maker.
Yeah.
And do right by him in regard to your earthly life.
Yeah.
Trust him to receive you and do the right thing. I imagine that there are some seen realm things that could be said. First of all, you make it harder for other people when you expose your network. Yeah. I think it's rare that this kind of thing is done without the complicity and participation of other people.
100%.
So expose your network.
Yeah.
Be an example to other people who might be teetering on the edge of their own conscience, actually. Be an example to people who would do likewise. People who are like, can't sleep at night, realize they've done wrong before man and before God. Realize that they need to be treated for, in the way that's right for what they've done wrong, and maybe help push them over the edge into something that will bring them ultimately into mercy instead of judgment.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, it's the same. Legally, you need to report yourself.
Yep.
That might not be the first thing you do, but it is definitely part of this.
Yep.
Therapeutically, you need to engage the process of what they call a strict moral inventory.
Yep.
Process of recovery from the compulsion to hurt other people.
Yep.
And socially, you need to do everything you can between that day and the day of your death to make it harder. You need to speak out. You need to grant interviews. You need to speak out as a person who committed these acts, and you need to advocate for the safety of minors.
Yep.
You need to turn it around. It's weird that the same three prongs
they apply.
are applicable to the person committing these things.
Yeah.
Don't destroy your victim's life with accusations that they're just a kook. Even if they are a destroyed kook now.
Yeah. Right.
Take full responsibility for your life. And there's people who the onlooker, the gawker, the rubbernecker. Life is a bar fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters in a bar fight. I like the guy who's pulling people out.
Yeah.
You know, you got people underneath tables and they're in danger. And the person who will run interference in the fray and drag a person to safety.
Yeah.
You got to be that person.
Yeah.
Life is hard, especially if you live it well.
Yeah.
Anybody that tells you otherwise is selling you something.
Yeah.
So there's a big noise in the San Francisco Standard about how difficult it is to start a conversation about how opioids are killing skateboarders. How hard is it to have this conversation?
100 times, 1,000 times more difficult.
Yeah, give them another 50 years.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that's only about trying to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Really having the conversation is gonna cause upheaval in your life. But if you're a person who's never had upheaval in your life, and that's a lot of people, people avoid upheaval. Yeah. Especially in the hedonistic ranks of skateboarding. Most people, I don't do drama.
Right. Dude, I just feel angry listening to that. Yeah, it's so funny. I don't do drama.
Real life, if it's anything, it's strange because in the grinding boringness of daily living, it's really quite dramatic.
Yes.
It is.
I think a question a person might ask themselves is, if my entire life up to this point were known fully by a totally unbiased judge, what would that person say about the way that I behaved? Because the devil does own the fence, and complicity is real gnarly. It's super duper gnarly. It's so easy to be like, I don't do drama and just shut up and skate. The problem is, if we don't want people's entire lives to be destroyed, we're going to have to move beyond such childish, immature, stupid, selfish fucking driving forces in our lives. You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
I know that people make arguments about don't shut up and skate like it's... I get it. It has a history. The way it's being used mostly inside the skateboarding community, I have nearly zero respect for, because I see it as representing total complicity and total selfishness inside of a person's fundamental attitude. Mm-hmm. And the price, it turns out, that you got to pay for that is tremendously high, even if it doesn't affect you directly, and especially if it doesn't affect you directly. If you got any love for the block at all, do anything, say something, just move.
Try. Do something badly, and then you know what a lot of people don't appreciate in life is you do get a mulligan. You do get to come back. Do you get to come back and say, yeah, the other day I didn't know what to say, but today I do. Yeah. And I'm going to pull the pin out and I'm going to roll this pineapple grenade in here and see what happens.
Yep. And expect any mayhem that you expect, just double it by 10, so you can have your dials maybe close to properly set.
And now you're a big kid.
Yeah. Get in the pit and love somebody, man. Mm-hmm. Jeepers fucking creepers. I mean, golly. This is so basic, like human adult life, you know?
It is. The problem is, once you're embroiled in this kind of super dramatic and traumatic, this kind of moral injury, once you're embroiled in it, it's difficult to wake up in the morning and just be about what life was. This changes everything. But those changes, if you avoid those changes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah.
You're actually making everything worse.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough too, because there are a lot of people who want to capitalize on declaring themselves on the right side of this issue. I wish there were more.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that, but no, just be it.
Yeah.
Be about it. Be about it.
Yeah.
And this is a tough one. This was a tough podcast.
I'm finna about to print a bunch of t-shirts that just say, make Thanksgiving dinners awkward. Just black, white text on black.
Make Thanksgiving miserable again.
Yeah, make Thanksgiving miserable again. These people, I knew a person who had been assaulted by an uncle when she was very young, and that she came out to her family, and her family shamed her.
Yeah.
And that uncle was present at every single family gathering where she was at, and the result was a situations in which like he would just be in one room and she would be in another, and then he would come into that room and she would just leave, and everybody acted like it's just so nice that we're getting together and having such a pleasant time.
Or that she was a bummer.
Yeah, I wish she would just
she
shut
was
the
a
fuck up,
bummer, and they
please.
wish she would just get over it.
Just get over it. That happened so long ago. I don't understand. If you're in that room, even if you're not part of those scenarios as abuser and abuser, if you're in that room and complicit with that, I want to be careful about the way that I say this, but I don't have any respect for your position.
Right. If you're the family onlooker.
Yeah.
If you're the family member who said, "You're ruining this family."
Holy shit.
If that's where you are dead wrong.
Yeah.
You're doing everything you can. You're doing everything that's necessary for this to keep going. That's the other profile. We have the victim profile. We have the victimizer profile, and then we have the profile of the relatively casual onlooker.
Yeah.
If you are the complicit family member, and I mean skateboarding, we're talking. We talk from within skateboarding. If you're the shop local and you always wish that you could be sponsored, and you know what the sponsored guys are doing, and you still think they're cool, there's such a thing in this world as saying, you know what, you and me, we're not cool.
Yeah.
I might not know what to do. I might not know what to say, but you and me are not cool.
Yeah.
I'm not cool. I watched how you treated that person, and I think less of you.
Yeah.
And they may ruin you.
Yeah.
It turns out being ruined is the new not being ruined.
Yeah.
The new ruined is the new being someone, being a real person. And I think that a lot of human beings in our listening area are sitting on a pile of missed opportunities to do good.
Yeah.
And I think on our pillows, sometimes we have regrets.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
I mean, these are literally what deathbed regrets are made of.
It is. I wish I had said something about the way they treated that girl under the bridge.
Yeah.
I wish that I had said something. I wish I had done something to make it harder for that stuff to happen.
Yeah.
And some of you may have tremendous injury in your life that makes you very afraid to engage. Get some help.
Yeah.
You need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Because if your moral compass has taken such a hit that it can only turn west, you're not going to wind up on target.
Yeah.
You need to get some help. I had a guy talk to me one time, and he said, Lew, I just don't do drama because someone I knew was murdered over drama. And I thought, oh, what a terrible experience. Yeah. What a terrible experience that is. I mean, I was really bummed out. And what a respect I have for the experience of having a friend be murdered.
Yeah.
Over drama. And that really humbles me. But it doesn't change today.
No.
And it's hard for me to understand what the exact operating thought is there. Let me get this straight. So you had drama in your life. Someone was murdered. And so you set yourself to ignore right and wrong.
Right.
Anytime it looked like it could escalate into conflict that could become combat, that could become homicide.
Right.
Well, shoot. That's going to pin you down as a hedonistic good timer with no spine for the rest of your life. You're going to have all kinds of people say all kinds of nice things about how nice you are.
Yeah.
But you will have failed to be good.
Yeah. Jeez.
If you are a lover, you will be a fighter.
Yeah.
And that is very tough because that means that you probably won't come through without some serious scars.
Yeah.
And you might get murdered. Your friend might get murdered. Because the powers that be that hold sway over skateboarding don't want this talked about.
Yep.
Even at the local level. Even in cities that I've been in, I have seen this stuff locked down absolutely tight.
Yep.
There are rules about this in the skateboarding community. Rules that not only have to be broken, the whole codex has to be taken and put in a fire and
Yep.
just burned.
Yep.
Nope, we talk about everything.
Yep.
We talk about everything. It's tough. It's really tough. There's a lot that goes on with being a community. There's a lot of ethical work that has to be done in order for us to be a community. And we are like 40 years of severe neglect deep
Yep.
on it. And again, we began this by speaking in a context. We talked about basketball. We talked about gymnastics.
Yep.
We're not talking about Woodward camps, which, by the way, are connected with Penn State basketball camps. We're not talking about Woodward camps, but I have heard people talk about Camp Woodward, and I am so happy that they have begun to put in place the regulations and the things in place to keep kids from being accessed. In the last, 3-4 years,
That's awesome.
Woodward has begun. Well, now, before we go giving out medals,
Yeah.
I shudder having heard first-hand accounts. I shudder at what an expose of Camp Woodward would yield. I shudder at it. And what makes me even more upset than the institution level is I shudder at families across the country whose kids came home with stories that didn't do anything for all those years. And I also shudder at pro skateboarders that went to Woodward and contributed to the delinquency of minors for years. And they were praised for it.
Yep.
They were lifted up for it. It's really dirty. It's really, really dirty. And the contribution to the delinquency of minors that seems to have been part and parcel with skateboarding is just boggles my mind. There is public video from the New York skateboarding scene in the 90s that is felony material. Nobody, never in my life did anyone say, this shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't work at that skate shop. You shouldn't run that brand. You shouldn't be anywhere around kids. It never happened. I mean, nobody likes to hang around with me much.
I know. You're such a wet blanket, bro. There is one other aspect of this conversation I think it's important to bring up, and it's definitely going to be a toe stepper, which is the literal ocean worth of pornographic material on your phone, literally like 1 to 2 clicks deep for any person at any time. I just read an article by...
We're actually going to do entire episodes on pornography.
Yes, and we should, because there is shit on Pornhub that is so dastardly immoral that it's in the courts right now.
And I want to be clear about this.
Go ahead.
I don't think there's one of us in this room that hasn't looked at the porn.
100%.
This is not going to be throwing stones at other people.
No, but it's important to talk about.
But we need to talk about it.
We have to talk about it because the type of shit that's on the internet that is accessible feeds this machine. It really does. And it feeds the machine inside of people.
Yes.
My opinion.
It's a well-evidenced opinion. Science.
Yeah.
Right. Dr. Anthony Fauci himself.
Banned.
So the research, the science, the clinical science on this is in that. Yeah, that's not good for us.
No.
That we can at least agree that that's not good for us, and so it behooves us.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to talk.
Yeah.
It behooves us to have conversations about that. And we'll tag that at the end of this episode, because we guarantee that we will repeatedly revisit these things with greater intensity in the future, because we're pro-information, we're pro-education. We want these things to be discussed. These things are important. In the past, the mistake has been made through the past so many times to conceal, to hide, to marginalize these difficult topics that are embarrassing, that even can lead to criminal prosecution. No. We're gonna talk about all that. We are gonna keep talking about all that, and we are going to continue to platform information and discussion on these topics because it's very important. There are people whose blood cries out from the ground, and when we are asked what their name is, we are not going to respond. We are not our brother's keeper. We're going to say, I am my brother's keeper. We're going to at least try. Maybe go down swinging.
I'm happy to do that. That'd be a great death.
I
also like to remind people again, the invitation is open. You can email us at the CapmLewQuestions@gmail email. If you have a story that you want told, especially if you want it told anonymously, we're more than happy to platform your story in such a way that you remain anonymous.
We are.
That would bring me great joy to do that for people. This stuff is so important, and to any degree that we can discuss it and help you on your path of recovery, even if you're just starting out, even if you just need some help, that makes life worth living for me. That would be awesome.
And sometimes the help you need is to help other people. We are not interested in capitalizing on sensationalism.
No.
We're not. But we are interested in garnering your support to continue doing this work. We're grateful for the enthusiastic support of Life Skateboards. Life Skateboards actually backs us talking about this stuff. They enthusiastically believe that skateboarders need this kind of conversation. And we're very, very grateful for the support of Life Skateboards, not only as the boards that we ride, but as friends who we can turn to and get a hug from as we this stuff's rigorous. Don't feel sorry for us. We're on solid ground. We want you to be on solid ground. And that's why we're sad. And so we hope that you can hear us. Beyond the din of all the things we're not saying. There's so much we're not saying. We hope you can hear what we are saying. That is our hope. And we always recommend strongly you look into the strong evidences in history that there is a God, that he does love you, and that the proof is in Jesus. We hope you look beyond the hypocritical and scandalous behavior of American religion. We hope that you open a nice copy of Holy Writ, which we do not sell. We do not.
I'll give you a copy, though.
It's common enough that you can find it easy enough. I'm almost certain you can find someone who's willing to give it to you. We love you. We hope for all the very best good things to be yours.
Absolutely.
For what it's worth. CapmLew podcast.
Laters.
And that concludes our audio. We're still with you, Facebook friends. Our hearts are broken as we share this with you guys, and we hope that you respond. We hope that you take these words in this conversation, and we hope that it builds into you a resolve to be salt in the world. Salt that loses its flavor is no good for anything but to be thrown on the garbage pile and trampled under the feet of men. Don't trust me. I'm not the one who said that. That's the old man from Galilee.
True.
The Nazarene. Jeez, friend of tax collectors and sinners. I love that guy.
Yeah, me too.
He's my only hope. Thank you, Facebook friends. This will be up on YouTube in a week or so. You can catch us. This episode we just did will air on February 9th. This is episode 38. It will air on February 9th. You can catch it. Catch 36, 37. Oh, it's episode 38. It'll air on the 9th. You can catch other episodes going up like that.
In like fashion.
In like fashion. Thank you.
Laters.